Hello friends, welcome back to Case Studies with the BizDoc. This week the subject's going to be United Airlines, and I'm going to take you through a little case study on crisis communications. What to do on a bright sunny day when your business, minding its own business, doing what you've always done, finds yourself embroiled in a crisis. There's a right way and there's a wrong way, and we're going to cover it this week. Now we all know what happened with untied airlines. Yes, I call it untied airlines because that poor guy, Dr. Dow, certainly feels tied up, and he feels like he's flying the unfriendly skies. You know what I thought was funny this week is all the memes, everything that was coming out. You look at their logo. Is that the Death Star or is it a cage? Well, guess what? Both work.
Sorry, BizDoc.
We're filming.
You've been bumped.
What's going on?
You've been bumped.
Wait, what?
Yep, we've got to get another host in here.
I've been bumped?
You've been bumped.
Who bumped me?
We got another show coming in, Kelly Nishimoto. We got to use the studio.
Wait, Kelly Nishimoto? Well, you can't bump me.
Sorry, BizDoc.
No. Go away. I'm not doing it. You go back.
We'll
no.
offer you $40.
No, I'm not doing this.
BizDoc, please.
$40. You give me $40 to bump me as the host?
Yes. We need.
No, I was here doing. Look, I'm here like a. No! Hey! 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 Hey!
Oh my God! No! Oh my God!
Oh, I'm back. What an ordeal. Getting bumped on my own show, and he only offered me $40? Man, you see those videos about that guy that got bumped from the United flight, and you think that what they were doing? One word comes to that. Damn! Man, what a terrible ordeal. Anyway, where was I? Let's take a look at what happened to United and what they were doing on a bright, sunny morning, operating business as usual. Now, first, they're an airline, and you know, we're all kind of fed up with airlines. Airlines, credit card companies, cable TV, none of those have particularly high marks with the American people, and certainly, or people around the world, and certainly airlines have a reputation that they deserve to have. There are some bright spots. Virgin Air tries real hard. Southwest has always tried hard to have a heart and do things, but some of the big carriers, and as a result of all these mergers, they deserve their reputation. But they also sometimes have a tough job and things are happening that are not their fault. Well, in the case of United, the CEO, Oscar Munoz, he's generally regarded as being a pretty good CEO and a pretty nice guy. But we can see this week he really fumbled. We all saw what happened, but I'll just repeat the key facts. There's this United flight operated by Republic Airlines, which is a partner of United, that was headed to Louisville. And it's heading to Louisville, and it's completely full. It wasn't overbooked, meaning people standing around couldn't get seats, even though they bought a ticket on that, but it was full. The problem was United needed pilots in Louisville, and they needed a crew of 4. So they had, the terrible choice had to be made of getting 4 customers off that flight so they could get 4 of their employees on, because they had 200 people waiting in Louisville with a flight that didn't have a crew. Now I'll get to what all that means in a minute. So they announced, hey, a $1,000 travel voucher to 4 people to take a later flight to Louisville. We have a situation here. Well, 3 people took it. Now, college students love that, and I'll talk about that in a minute, because it usually means, hey, on my way home, I got delayed a little bit, but I got $1,000 to go with my girlfriend or boyfriend on trip to spring break. Now we've got this extra travel money. And yeah, sometimes it works out. But in this case, you know, I don't know who exactly took it, but 3 people said, you know what, I'll fly later, I'll take the $1,000. Then it's getting closer to takeoff, and there is nobody else. Well, the airlines looked down a list, made some sort of decision, and they said, let's go talk to this guy. And his name is Dr. Dow. So they go in and talk to Dr. Dow and say, excuse me, sir, you're being bumped from this flight, but we're going to give you a $1,000 travel voucher for the next flight. And Dr. Dow says what a lot of people say, no thanks. They said, no, sir, you've been selected and you're going to be removed from the flight. And what happened next was he became agitated. They called airport security, and the airport security, we all saw the videos, dragged him down the aisle. Now, there are some things that Dr. Dow didn't do perfectly right in the situation, and he was running back and forth, and there's some other things that went on, but no customer just for being disagreeable deserves to be dragged down an aisle by security like there's some sort of riot protest and the police are dragging you away to jail for disorderly conduct. He was sitting on a flight with a ticket he had bought, waiting to go wherever. Well, that's what happened. And then the days that followed, United, they blew it on crisis communication. They sent an email from their CEO that said it was a belligerent passenger. Oh, great. So now the guy being dragged down the aisle, who a minute ago was sitting there just waiting to go to his next city, now he's being called belligerent in an email throughout United by the CEO. The CEO never should have wrote that. So let's talk real quick about travel. I've traveled a lot, and I've had executive platinum status on American Airline. I was almost diamond status on Delta, based on business travel and where I lived and what I did for many years. And so I've traveled a lot, and I've seen it. And I'll tell you, things happen to airlines. First, let's take a look at the whole concept of bumping.
Tom's word of the day.
Sometimes airlines, and if you don't travel a lot, maybe you don't know this, they end up in a pinch. So let's say a flight going to Louisville had a flight crew that's supposed to get on the next plane and take these people to somewhere else. What if weather or equipment, this plane is delayed? Well, Louisville is not like a headquarters or a hub city for United. United has got one in San Francisco, one in Chicago, but Louisville is a small airport. They may not have any off-duty flight attendants or pilots. They could call in, hey, you need to get to work. They could do that in San Francisco. They could do that in Chicago, where they got all these employees. Not in Louisville. So now they don't have people there. A flight that was coming in and that crew is going to go to the next plane is not there. You could also have situations where you may have a crew that's just arrived, but they have flown their maximum number of hours for the day. And to keep you and me safe, there are regulations about how many hours a pilot can fly in a day and how many hours a flight crew can work. And we don't want flight crews working 12, 13-hour days and flying that long if they're supposed to be safely getting us to our destination. So in those cases, those crews can't get on the next flight. So they had a situation. We got to get a crew of 4 to Louisville, and we need to inconvenience 4 customers, but let's give them a $1,000 voucher. And that happens a lot. You hear announcements all the time. This flight is oversold, or hey, we need to get crew to the next city because there's a bunch of people sitting on a plane. So they inconvenience 4 people, give them travel vouchers so that they can get 200 people in Louisville waiting for their flight to where they're going to go. So if you're the airline, you run into these things all the time. And you balance it. I got to inconvenience a few people who may be pissed, but I got to see if I can fix it for these 200 people. So that's the situation they're in, and that happens from time to time. And you know, you hear about overbooking. Well, overbooking, I flew a lot, and it wasn't as often as people want to say it is, because over the course of time, the airlines have tremendous databases of how many people no-show. And so therefore they say, well, we usually have a no-show of 3%, so we can overbook 3%, or some math that they do. And generally they get it right. It hasn't been frequent that I see overbooking. And when you hear overbooking, you think that it's always bad. Well, a lot of times the airlines have detailed statistics on what has happened. Now, in this case, apparently, the flight was just full, exactly full, and there was no overbooking. But nonetheless, Republic and United had to work together to get the crew to the next city. And then 3 people took the vouchers, and then Dr. Dow got dragged down the aisle by security. Horrible situation, but that's what it is. So, not cutting United any slack, but generally airlines have a pretty tough job when weather or an equipment issue or the flight crew is out of hours, and when they're trying to mix it around so they can get you and me to their destination, they have a tough job. But that does not excuse what untied airlines, Fly the Unfriendly Skies, did this time. Here is a case study on crisis communications. And we can set United Airlines aside now and talk about crisis communications and how to do it right. Things can happen. You or me could be operating our business, and on a bright sunny morning, crisis happens. And it's not even our fault. But here's how you handle it. Number 1, The impacted people come first. There's social media, there's Facebook, there's news. All these people are going to be checking on you and they're going to be watching you. And the first thing, the impacted people come first. I'll use United as an example, but I'm not going to talk about, their situation anymore. But if I had been the CEO, the first thing I would have done is, hey, we all saw the videos. This is a terrible situation. The first thing that I want to find out is what happened to our customer who bought that ticket for us, Dr. Dow. How is he doing? Where is he? And what's going on? And I'm checking on that first. I've instructed people in my organization to do that. And second, I'm calling every person, every flight attendant, pilot, or person that was on duty. I don't want to talk to management. I don't want to talk about layers above. I want to have a conference call and hear from all my people. Please give me time to get the full and complete story from my employees who I trust, who are the witnesses there. That's called get the story straight. Tell the media you're on a path to get the story straight, but quickly and up front, you got to get some statement out. Even if it's one media outlet, you got to get it out that we're worried about the impacted person. Regardless of whether it's your fault or not, tell them you're worried about the impacted person and you want to get the story straight. Then interview your people. And when I say interview, I mean interview them. If you're a leader in your company, you need to ask the following questions. Who was there? I want to hear from you. And if on this phone call you have felt in any way that you are being intimidated or pushed to change your story or not tell the exact truth, here's my private email. And if you want to send me an email tonight from your personal email because you're scared or being intimidated right now, do it. I need the truth from everybody involved. We just need to know what happened. We're going to learn together. We're going to grow together, but I want to know what happened. Who are you? I'm the lead flight attendant. What happened? Who are you? Why was the pilot up front while they're making an announcement? Who are you? I was the gate attendant that was making announcements for the $1,000 voucher. Find out from everybody. Interview the whole crew. That's how you get the story straight. And then you become transparent and available. Now you can go out with your story in this case and say, hey, we have been first worried about Dr. Dow, and I've talked to my people, and I have the following statement. First of all, this flight wasn't overbooked, it was just full. Second of all, we were following procedures, just trying to get 4 people to take a later flight so we could get our flight crew to Louisville so 200 people, also our customers, wouldn't be stranded. We could get a flight crew there so they could fly. That's the problem I have. And yeah, we can all talk about how that happened and what we could do different, but that was our situation that day. And then we attempted to talk to Dr. Dow. We went through a list of people based on frequent flyer status and things like that. We attempted to talk to him. And you know what? Things broke down. He got upset with us. He didn't want to be inconvenienced. We understand that. But we think he got a little more upset than he should. And then we got security involved. You know what? I don't think we should have got security involved, and I feel terrible about it, especially if they're going to be dragging him off. I would have rather, gone up to 1,500 travel voucher and gone to the next person and see if we could do it. So we can all talk about how it could be different. But ladies and gentlemen, this is what I understand happened. It wasn't overbooked. It was just full. They were following procedures. And at some point, this thing broke down, and we, own it. Now, you don't have to own and take accountability for Dr. Dow, how he acted and was freaked out and was running around and things. You don't have to own his behavior, but you have to own that he's your customer, that it's your flight, those were your people, and somebody called security. You don't have to own accountability for security, but they were called. Then, despite it all, you take it. So despite the fact that maybe Dr. Dow is a little over the top, you don't sit there and blame him or blame any situation. You own it despite it all. And finally, you commit to a solution and you say, now, first, making sure Dr. Dow is okay and making sure I got the story straight and I've shared it with you, the media, and we own it. It was on our plane. Those weren't our security, but that was our customer, our situation. We have to own that. And lastly, I think as an industry, we could look at better ways to move crews around, and we could grow with the future. We have so much technology and analytics. I think as an industry, we need to commit to a solution to have better preparation for backup flight crews, and there's things we can learn from it, and as a CEO in the industry, I need to be part of that. Now watch what happens. If that was the way it transpired, guess what? The media is like, well, hey, they're really owning it. They're trying to find a solution. They tried to do something to help Dr. Dow, and the CEO was being transparent. And he said he was out to get the story straight from the people that were there. This is the trust line. When a crisis happens, like the yellow line, trust drops as the public goes suspicion. Did you see that video? That poor United customer got his ass dragged off an airplane. Oh my gosh, that's terrible. And it drops. But trust can come back as the whole story comes out and you have a CEO not changing the story. However, as trust drops and then they change the story, oh, wait, it was overbooked. No, it wasn't overbooked. And all those things happened, and then an email inside United calling him a belligerent customer, all of a sudden you end up on a path to hell. What started out as a crisis that you had an opportunity to recover from, maybe even commit to a solution and offer it to your industry, you end up on the path to hell because you have now blown it in so many different ways. Your CEO looks like a guy who treats customers as enemy. Your CEO suddenly looks like a guy who didn't have his facts straight and the story kept unfolding, and finally you lose it. But in this situation, the public's gonna, those videos are harsh. And what happened to that man was terrible. So you're going to have suspicion, loss of trust, but it can come back if this is the way you handle it and say, on a bright sunny morning, we were operating an airline. And then this terrible thing happened to Dr. Dow. And I hope we've all learned from it and to go forward. And even today, Dr. Dow's got attorneys representing him, but we're talking to them because we're trying to figure out how we can work with them. He went through a terrible situation and it's just sucked for all of us. But at the end of the day, I think as an industry, we could do some things, and I'm going to be part of that. Now then, would you want to fly that airline? Especially if nothing else comes out, no emails, nothing to lose trust? I would. And I would say, you know what, I admire that guy. I had a terrible situation. And finally at the end saying, well, who are those security goons anyway? As the truth comes out, public perception will move to the people that were really at fault. Well, those securities were goons, but the doctor was also acting weird. But United, good God, man, figure out how to not have to bump people so you can get your flight crew around. Guess what? That's when trust comes back because the public will balance its opinion. And that's what it's all about. So I hope with the untied airlines, and Dr. Dow wants to be untied because security's probably got him someplace in handcuffs, and the Unfriendly Skies, I think I was able to bridge this to a crisis communications story. And you know what? I would take notes and keep this in your desk because someday you may need it. And this is the way to do it. There's a lot written about crisis communications. There's a lot of methods. But I've always felt that in an age of social media where if it's on video, it becomes public perception, and that perception is truth, and you have to deal with that. And second, trust is rebuilt with transparency and consistency because it's a video world, it's a Snapchat world, it's a Facebook world. Bits and pieces are out there and you can't spin those. So there you go. That's the case study for this week. I hope you learned about crisis communication and, hey, we got a genuine United Airlines pillow this week that smells like baby vomit. Anyway, please subscribe to Valuetainment, the best channel on the internet for entrepreneurial videos such as case studies and facts and lessons from Patrick Bet-David. Until next time, I'm Tom Ellsworth, and I hope I left you better than I found you.